Yeah, I hear it now.
Hello. Hi. Welcome, everyone. It is a new day and a new episode era for the Chicanery podcast. Because today, I am not joined by Jay, unfortunately. As we did talk about before, Jay had to step down because reasons. However, with me today, we have Horror. Hi, Horror.
Oh, hello.
And with Horror, somebody who many of you actually do not often get to see or talk to, because he's usually not around. We're going to call him Baku, one of my inner circle friends.
Well, hello, party people.
And with us today, our first guest for the podcast, we have Twitter artist extraordinaire, Amaretta. Say hello, Amaretta.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. We have a great show for you today. We have planned it in advance. We all know how it's going. We all know how it's done, etc., 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 etc. It's been a very, very annoying long month for all of us, and it's only the 10th day of May.
Ain't it some shit?
Amen.
Some straight fucking ass, absolute fucking dog shit. You really ask me. I don't understand how this shit could happen, but then again, I live in America, and this is the timeline which we're stuck on. I want to go back. I would rather go back to my diaper in 2001 than live through this shit. I don't know what to do with myself.
Bring government-sanctioned nap time. Make it federally mandated. Please and thank you.
I am not a big fan.
All I asked for is a steak and a blowjob, dog. It's that easy.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the government, and also not a big fan of nap time. Anyways.
I'm a fan of nap time. What you mean?
I mean, adult naps are different than child naps. Child naps is because they just don't want you to do anything, so they'd rather you be unconscious. Adult naps are, I don't want to be here, but unfortunately, the only thing that will rejuvenate my spirit in any means is my sweet, sweet black ass against that Egyptian cotton.
Amen.
But like, an adult naps be like, I'm taking the nap, and you wake up 5 hours later, dehydrated, like a shriveled up little raisin of a person.
You wake up, you have track veins and pressure marks on your arm. You have to wipe the nutrients out of the corner of your mouth. That's an adult nap.
Man, naps suck for y'all, but they're great for me.
I love that nap. I'm gonna be so for real. That's my best shit.
I don't
My
hate
favorite
naps.
part of an adult nap is the water that comes directly after it.
I don't hate adult naps. It's just I don't often get to enjoy them. As cats live outside my window, as people already know. And occasionally I get to be woken up to the sweet... I get to be woken up in my fantasy of the of classical music playing, of Flower Garden. I wake up to the sound of cats fucking. Some of the little ones... while they wander around the yard for like 10 minutes. It's not fun.
As I would say, sucks to suck.
So I might as well remove. I have to kick my cat out while I have the chance.
True. Anyways, moving on straight into the first topic of today. Baku, what do you have for me?
Well, before I previously mentioned that Helldivers 2 was finally looking up on things, you know? They had backed out on their little shitty deal that they tried to do. And then they backed down on that. What the fuck, Sony? I can't even transition. What the fuck, Sony?
Helldivers 2, what a great situation. What a great situation. So, within the last few rotations of dealing with the problem that is Helldivers, as well as the use of Sony and Helldivers being used to hold them hostage to whatever they wanted, people thought the situation was as simple as, haha, there's no way that this could end up poorly for us. Certainly, there's no way this could end up poorly for us, and it still continued to end up poorly for everybody. I don't know how we got there, but we got there. But unfortunately, the way how we got there actually makes a lot more sense than you think. what I was able to figure out for the most part, I don't know what the hell that sound was. What I was able to figure out for the most part is that what people thought was a simple addressal of the problem actually is not a simple addressal of the problem. So the way the story started out, there's a timeline here that is 6 months in the past. When Arrowhead Studios is presented the opportunity to make Helldivers 2 and have it published by Sony, they're told that there will be a mandatory account registration for their involvement and for the future life and service of the game as a service. Then, the Arrowhead CEO, knowing this and never communicating this information, which is what makes it a rug pull, chose to turn the servers on and get people in and waiver the temporary registration access. By doing so, he allowed people to come in and play the game and allowed people to focus on having fun rather than all of the other things that come with the hard time of a launch. Which means people were able to come in on launch day. If they bought the $60 edition of the game for Super Citizen, they got a free jump start on the now, at the time of today's patch notes, if it wasn't yesterday's patch notes, a total of 5 new war bonds, which were, in my estimation and in my guesswork at the time, I would have guessed was an overcompensation for something that should have been easily solved. Because let's be honest, guys, Helldivers 2 launched a buggy fucking mess. A fun buggy mess, but a buggy fucking mess.
It's been a crazy mess to just see it. It's an up and down. It's just depressing to see because they had the potential to come right back, and they instantly threw that shit away. They didn't even wait. They're like, yeah, we have good paperback. We're just gonna do it anyways quietly.
The biggest problem is that from these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like 5 war bonds, as well as the balance patches that haven't gone through, not even addressing things like the breaker at ship or kick discourse, where shitty players that don't know how to play the game were using the crutch of the breaker, as well as the anti-personnel shield backpack, as a way to get them through the game, along with the railgun, unlocked at level 20. Players refused to basically play the game like a normal human being, and basically said, if you don't have these weapons and this loadout on the ship, I will kick you out. Which is crazy, because it's already hard enough to get the game to function.
Which is wild, because why would you do this to yourself at this point, man?
Well, casuals, I don't know what to say, bro. They haunt every game I play. But,
Nah, actually, you gotta spin.
besides the first balance patch that was made as a way to basically stop those people from justifying their actions, by taking a hard nerf bat to every single weapon that was added, they then realized that one of the fundamental issues of the game is that with the base stratagems and the base weapons included, people were looking for mainstay Helldiver 1 weapons and whatnot. And so, on that timeline, what required people to address the further problem was, servers are ass. We want to play the game and have fun. We don't have the tools to face the enemies in the game. But you see, the entire time this was happening, Sony had a plan. They were enacting it. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, you did not win. I would have hoped and I would have wanted that we had won, but we didn't win. And I'll tell you how, but let me tell you how we got there. First balance patch rolls through, and we start getting the additional upgrades. First, there was the first Helldivers Mobilize Warbond. Then we get the Steel Veterans, which came with the first edition, which is the total first 2. Then we had the Electric Warbond. Then we had the additional Explosive Warbond, as a total of 4. And then we're launching here the Patriot, Frozen Patriot, which is 5. 4 additional patches of balance, with additional involvements of new weapons, new stratagems, new inclusions, new everything. Everything from the Trend 1, Exosuit campaign, and more. Which is another thing that is a factor of Helldivers 2 that it was not discussed. Helldivers 2, unlike many other games that are launched as a game as a service, is played much more like a free-form form of Dungeons & Dragons Adventure League. In that, there is a global CM, DM control around the narrative of the game and its events. From the events that happened at launch, where they planned for events that would only have 10k players, that then was getting dominated by literally 750,000 players, to now, in its current time rate, which I'm going to look this up live, based on who is currently live right now in the Steam charts.
I'm sorry, I was reading over the tweets thinking from what's his name, Pirate Software.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of that. Thor, thank you. Thor tweets sum it up the best. They're just they tried very slyly to.
Oh no, no, don't ruin it. I'm telling. I have
too
it.
long.
I got it. I got
You
it. Show
take
him.
it too long.
Show him. But ooh, goddamn, those numbers are worse than I thought they would be on the weekend. Currently 96k in the game. They ultimately, eventually got to a point where this news about the account linking would not be held off anymore. And then, of course, Sony enacted their plan. Sony came through and said, we are going to now mandate and standardize that you all need to make a PSN account and link it. Which, of course, is where the triviality started. Oh my god, bro, you guys are whining. PC players are entitled. It only takes 2 minutes. And then, of course, the downvotes. Downvotes that inspired a cape design. The voices were heard. Unlike in many situations, especially in the case of Stellar Blade, happening at the exact same time of this, where you're normally ignored, Sony had to publicly take a knee and rescind their registration. The gamers won. But you see, something crazy and wild, ladies and gentlemen. While you guys were reverting your negative scores and you were rewarding them for making it clear that you could do what you could do, crazy thing happened. They still got away with it, and I'm gonna tell you how. So it's funny you mentioned Thor, because he's exactly the thing. Because again, I made sure to write this in the threads when I was putting it through. The reveal of exactly how you were tricked by Sony to get what they wanted was only seen by a couple of people as content creators, but seen by a lot of people on an expectation for their ability to discuss this. It was very important because this is also affecting another game, which is Ghost of Tsushima, especially for its director's cut. I will show you. So, here, in this, and then here. So, queuing it up on the screen right now, because I have multiple tabs open and I need to leave them open. So, I'm about to queue up the thing for you here. And multiplayer window, full screen window. Boop, bada boop, pow. Here we go. Size. And drag and drop. Alright, there we go. So on your screen right now is breakdown of Thor, also known as Private Software, and his explanation for why this is so. This is something that I also had to fact check myself independently, and I was able to do so, and it is correct. And it's really fucking abysmal. So we're going to walk through it. The Helldivers community...
And yeah, shout out to apologies for interrupting, but shout out to Thor for being just the goat and actually investigating after the fact. He could have just taken the okay and went with it, but he was genuinely just smart enough to go, okay, let's keep an eye on it.
Well, you see, not a lot of people were, because as I said in my videos, especially with people who I had not usually interacted with in a while, they told me, bro, why can't you just take it? Why can't you just take a win? But the thing is that it's only a win if a win is a win, and this win is not a fucking win. Because, you see, it was a multi-tier problem, guys. It wasn't just, I'm being forced to register a PSN account. It was also, the games were pulled from the regions, and were locked, and then were incapable of being purchased, to this moment, in those regions where you could not make a PSN account, because this was the biggest issue. The game effectively was being bricked, in such a way that if you did not log in and use these particular methods, you and your $40 purchase, or your $40 gift in my case, because it was bought by a mutual, would become null and void. So either you do what we say or you lose your game. Sony saw you all and nut when you bucked and said, okay, cool. But here's what we're gonna do instead. Welcome, Spectre. And I read, the Helldivers community was tricked by Sony. Sony declared having a PSN account would be mandatory to play Helldivers 2. The community revolted and trashed the game's review score to a 13% positive rating. Sony walked it back and stated that they wouldn't be making PSN mandatory. Declaring victory, the community undid the massive wave of negative reviews, yet Sony did something sinister in the background. They restricted Helldivers 2 from being purchased in all 177 countries where PSN is not available. They fooled you, and the devs are still fighting to fix it. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, if the problem with Helldivers 2, and this is a sentiment that Horror explained, is that you're not going to play this game because it has DRM, that's completely fine. Everyone should be allowed to make that choice. What's not fair is that even if Horror were to somehow come around in her opinion, she won't, guys, don't. She literally won't. But
nope.
If she were to come around in her opinion, she literally can't play the game if she doesn't live in those regions. Can you think of a worst case of suffering from success? Oh yes, I heard this game that all my friends can play globally, that I wanted to play with them on crossplay. I can't play it because I can't make a PSN account in the places where it's possible. And granted, they can't do that, or they don't have to not worry about that, but they also now can't buy the game. They can't even buy the game to play it. This is illegal in multiple ways, but you see, the problem is that if it's the case of a third-party end-user license agreement in terms of service, this is why we PC players don't like signing them shits. This gives an invasive level of control that we are not comfortable with. The same level of control that people who have a concern about kernel-level anti-cheat have all over. Because it's not just with Helldivers. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. In terms of contracts, let it be known in one thing, at least in America, if a contract is illegal, it does not have to be followed. That is still, you don't get sued for breach of contract, you won't fumble your whole case. If that contract is for, say, something that is not supposed to happen, and they put that in there, without letting anyone know deceptively, realistically, that contract's null and void. That whole argument that I've seen of, well, you wrote in the contract, you signed the ULA. That doesn't matter. That contract is null and void. That's still deceptive practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's technically by U.S. law. We don't know if that's the case in Japan.
Yep.
Which is where Sony is out of.
See, the ultimate problem, of course, is that this is American imperialism being forced upon both Americans and Japanese players, because the Santa Monica attitude of Sony of America is permeating on games that shouldn't even be affected by Sony of America's rulings. This is why this happened at the same time Stellar Blade was annoying, because Stellar Blade was supposed to be an opportunity for Sony to demonstrate that this is a new era of where censorship is not going to affect people's ability to play video games like that of Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor. Because it is a game that, despite being a Souls-like, is very much suited to those types of games that I've discussed before on both Carl at Home as well as in Versus Chat. The Upgrade-a-thon movie games. God of War is like this. Ironically enough, Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 is like this. All the games that feature that, they are in design like Stellar Blade. But the reason why Stellar Blade was being touted was that it was promised by Shift Up, by both the husband and wife team, one designing the games and the other one selling the game, that you would have no censorship, and that you could be able to have it. And of course, as expected, Sony not only censored the art, which I don't care if it's 5% censorship from a character who's using a body boob window swimsuit, and they randomly put a random white piece of fabric there, which fashion-wise, it wouldn't be there. The same way that with a leotard outfit, you randomly have a black camisole over the top, and you somehow remove the vagina bones. I thought we learned this lesson from Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but we clearly didn't. I don't care about none of that. If you do censorship, I don't care how nebulous or how trivial you think it is, because it's just as stupid how people said this was as trivial with the choices to link yourself to an account. It is trivial, therefore it shouldn't be possible.
This argument of it's a small problem. It's so what?
The appeal to I understand.
There's so many small problems. It ain't one small problem here.
I understand.
And also, I'll be so honest with you here. Even in terms of just who cares about the argument? My bias does not agree with half the shit they did to censor it. God, it looks fugly as shit. I'm so sorry. That does not make sense.
It's a lot of ham-fisted bullshittery.
Yes.
It's ham-fisted in the sense that it doesn't, the math doesn't work. Like, look at that outfit. It is, you don't have a piece of fabric there if you don't have it everywhere else.
Regardless, be that as it may, there's more things that they did to Stellar Blade which are obviously stupid, such as the fact that games journalists, looking for something to be offended about, tried to reach out to what they thought was a meme, but was actually just a issue of the box of the wall being generated, which then resulted in the Koreans putting in a Korean slur for people who commit crime. But be that as it may, I don't care about the arguments of triviality in the case. It is stupid and dumb, and if you have to make an argument of triviality, then it means it doesn't need to be there in the first place. It's ridiculous. Nobody believes that Sony needs to have PSN linking so that they can ban people on their accounts. Because what has now been demonstrated with Helldivers 2 is that you have an extreme level of toxicity that was coming from community managers. I'm not going to name names because this is also part of the argument of why people claimed that it was a harassment campaign led by none other than Mark Kern and Cabrutus Rambo of the anti-woke game movement. I have my opinions about both, but this is not about them, but it would be remiss to be mentioned, especially in the case of the moderators, how Mark Kern was accused of being a serial assaulter. The moderator doubled down on the position, and fortunately, one of many moderators have been fired for it. It is not confirmed if that moderator was fired, but another moderator who had organized and asked for people to send negative downvotes was let go and released, but they were also a person who was very much one of the very bad mouths during this that were basically antagonizing people for not doing the trivial task and then bragging in their face, oh, you don't like it? We'll just leave a downvote. And then when a person mentioned that they aren't doing their job, they were then flippantly told, what, are you still here? I thought you said you were leaving, Bradley. That person has been fired. Other people being fired has remained to be seen. But in the case of a couple of the head mods, not accounting for the head mod everyone actually likes, which is Twinbeard, who is the senior lead amongst all the moderators in question, the greatest issue of the story is what is still on screen here, which is, for the people who are trying to claim that the actions were not associated and trying to community note Thor's tweet, when he demonstrates these pieces of proof. Sony restricted sales at 2200 UTC on May 4th, and then sent out the notice walking back the PSN requirement at 4 UTC on the May 6th, with these actions being 30 hours apart. The mass wave of downvotes that started on May 3rd continued until Sony announced the PSN requirement and then was dropped on May 6th. You can review it in the package information from Steam's customer reviews tool, which he then links the customer review tool, the Sony tweet, and the pack change log from the Steam database, which is where these changes are coming from, which is why we know these things to be true. It is panned for purchase in Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, as of 7 minutes ago, and people are trying to claim that this is Steam's fault, when it is not. And you can actually see it there, probably not very well, I'd have to go to a different screen, but you can actually see here that it actually remains to be true. I'll actually show you guys this here. Right there. As you can see here, it remains changed and remains to be seen as of yet. I will show this to the stream side in a second. It is quite literally. There's no other way to say this. This is catastrophically, vindictively evil from Sony. I have no other way of describing it. It is vindictively evil. I don't know what would provoke them to do this, but they did that. So, be that as it may, leading from that into the rest of the developments, the rest of this is now the attempt of trying to undo this. Sony then also blocked all of the countries that were being blacklisted here for Helldivers 2 from being able to purchase Ghost of Tsushima for its Director's Edition cut. So, because Sony thought that they could make a bag off of Helldivers 2, they permanently crippled the game's growth and its audience. And then did the same thing to Ghost of Tsushima. And don't bust that nut yet, they might do the same thing to Stellar Blade. Let's talk about it.
Don't really have much to say on that one. You're pretty much on point.
You mentioned you already ripped into Stellar Blade, and I've already had my minor rip onto it. The only other rip I could give you right now is just Jesus fucking Christ. The amount of cope I've seen of, well, guys, it's, you know, they did this because, like, it's PlayStation players and people who are like don't know any better. Well, guys, they did it for the bands. They did it for this, that. Dog, they're doing it again out of spite, and hit something else just out of spite. Like, let's not act like there was a reason for them to hit Tsushima, right?
Console players stay losing. That's literally what it is.
That straight the fuck up. Console players just cannot get any semblance of a win here, and admittedly, deservedly so.
Mm-hmm. It's abysmal because for many of them, it's like they've never been in a situation where they've been allowed to win something, and they were able to win it, and it remained a win. They're so used to having to give ground that they don't realize that they're actively defending Sony in their manipulation for the regards of ruining any and everyone across the pond when it comes to these subject matters. Like, I look at this and my heart weeps because this is a level of censorship beyond what any of us have ever experienced with a game company. Like, we've experienced content destruction, we've experienced game destruction, we've experienced game ruination and life ruination because of people's desire to ruin a game or to ruin a person running a game, but I have never seen such a malicious action in the name of profit margins and viability for a quarterly report than gimping a potential moneymaker that would have printed you money because you really, really gotta stop somebody from typing the N-word in the chat room. Because on top of this,
I get it, right? There's a certain point, but bro,
on top of this, there was biometric data that was reported on that one of the things that Sony was working on for the ability to moderate PSN was a data heuristics algorithm for AI that would be able to send reports and punish you from hearing the intonation of emotion in your voice when you speak. So the same way
which is fucking bullshit.
Yeah. So the way that I try to verbalize like exaggeration of humor or anger by verbalizing words, I can be banned because I said a sentence too hard. Why even have a microphone then? Why even play video games online then? Every single time that you have an interaction, you need to have a system to act like a nanny cam over your shoulder? With a kernel, with a game with a kernel level active, because there's no way that wouldn't be a kernel level injection into your machine. I hope you guys understand that. This is a level beyond Denuvo. This is a level beyond Denuvo making your game run at 20 frames per second.
Let me break it down for everybody so that they understand a little bit. The kernel level stuff, in order to get that off of your PC and off of all of your hardware, you would have to do a full-blown factory reset on your computer. Everything would have to be wiped in order for that to be gone. And you can try and uninstall it. Mm-hmm. You can try and remove it through other means, but it will still be there, way deep in your shit.
Mm-hmm. It should be reminded. It would be remiss first not to mention that yes, it's not supposed to communicate with the system and the programs that it's meant to do for when the game is not in use or is running. But just like this was made with Riot's Vanguard, which was rolled out earlier this week with the new launch of 14.9 leading up to 14.10's mid-season change, it was also doing the thing that many people fear that anti-cheats will do when they get installed in your computer, which was basically bricking people's graphics cards, destroying their graphics cards, causing the systems to overheat, or just simply causing the drivers of the system to pretend and act as though the game was a virus. Which, what do you mean? What do you mean the kernel level anti-cheat is on the same level as an invasive virus? That's crazy. That's crazy. But, yeah, this is worse than an anti-cheat that you have to uninstall by reinstalling a factory reset of Windows. And imagine, for a moment, that's on the hardware for the consoles.
Mm-hmm.
So console players, how would you like to lose the ability to play your video games because you said fuck? Does it sound good to y'all, baby boy? Does it sound good for you, everybody? You like losing tens of hundreds of thousands of potential dollars or spent dollars because somebody thought you said too many no words?
As a console player myself, I can attest that blows. I play nothing but console.
Because, ironically enough, the argument that people have for being against having a main computer, because it's really not an argument of PC versus console, it's a question of control versus security. You get games on PC to mod them so that you can play them at your leisure, multiplayer or otherwise, within limitations, of course. Don't cheat on the internet. Don't hack. Don't be a fucking loser. Get good. But you play the games on your PC to control the environment, the variables, to mod them, to demod them, whatever. You get the games on console because you can buy a console and you'll buy a game and you can have a physical copy of that game, and at any time you want to play it, you can put it in your console, boot it up, and play it. That's supposed to be what we do that for. The fact that this kind of technology exists on the console means that there is already a point, if we're not already there, that not just for this game, but for every other game moving forward. Since Sony's shown their hand and have demonstrated that they're not willing to buck, excuse me, that they're not willing to buck on the issue of censorship, that they're not just not going to do censorship, they're going to do more censorship. They're going to do so much censorship that they're going to lead your games to being permanently out of your hands because they really don't want you to have physical copies. They really don't want you to voice your opinion. They really don't want you to read the terms of service or the end user license agreement. And they really don't want you playing on crossplay. I don't know what will keep people playing on PSN or PlayStation 5 other than games like Helldivers 2. And without the ability to play games like that and participate in that giant market pool, what is the point of Sony and PlayStation as a company and a competitor? Even Xbox is not this retarded. Niggas cooked. I don't know how else to say it.
Retarded, but a different
It's
way.
cooked. Like, they are.
I needed a
It
second
is.
to think about that.
Yeah, no, they are retarded, just a different kind of retarded for a different reason.
They're a different. They're similar level, Carl, but they're on a different end of that one.
I mean, it could be argued, but are you stupid enough to destroy your quarterly report because you wanted to stick your finger in a golden goose pot?
No, but they're stupid enough to fuck up their quarterly report by getting rid of a studio that made their most celebrated and awarded game last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, actually, that's exactly what they did, Carl. So yes, they are that stupid.
That leads to a great transition, actually, to talk about that one. I don't actually have an on-screen reference for it, but I do know that the news stories are out there. Wow, that's crazy. So, building on what they just said, what they were mentioning is a bunch of studios were just either closed or reabsorbed as materials into the companies, including ones such as Hi-Fi Rush's developer. Tango. And then a bunch of other people from studios like Arcane getting closed as well. Yep. And I find it preposterous, especially upon learning the news, that they were in talks for their sequel when they were shut down. And even
worse, they went on to a call yesterday or like some sort of big press conference and said, we need more awarded small developer games.
Oh, that's a lie. I know that's a lie. Because what they want is not small industry cottage development games. What they want is more games that come from the people, like that of Lalonde and SBI. And I don't bring them up as to say, they just want the woke thing. No, they want games that tout the message, that give them a return of profit, and does not embarrass them. Which, on the topic of embarrassing them, it's abysmal to see. But you know what does put a smile on my face? Learning that Warner Brothers was cost almost over $200 million in profits because of the failure of Suicide Squad. Tell the Justice League.
Eat shit.
It brings a smile to my face. And the reason it brings a smile to my face is for the same reason I just mentioned, that they want to bring up games and studios and companies and individual contractors like that of SBI. Because realistically, that's why all of quote, the last 10 years, quoting from that supposed and suspected SBI employee before Cabrera's Rambo randomly decided to delete the evidence off of it because he does not know how to manage it, but was trying to do so to preserve the only thing he has of relevance, which is his Steam group. I understand why they would do it, because the idea of getting people to relaunch a number of single individual games made by smaller developers, but also featuring a very big outcry and opportunity for improvement, makes it easier to pray that something sticks. So there was a game that was shut down. There was a company that was shut down that was making a game that was featured by them that is now their last game. I'm looking through here to see if they have it featured, but I don't think they have it featured in the announced projects for Sweet Baby Inc. I'm looking through a couple other ones that did it as well, but I know I left an article about it on this side here. Let me just go there for that. It should be right here. Where is the name of that thing? Looking for it. I'm trying to find the name of it. This is a case of suffering from success. I have the thing here. It's inside of Printing Press Express, but because I have to unfollow things as I post them, I did not have it ready up in the position.
I like to call this "oh my god" content.
True, but I think it was a pirate game. I'm looking for it by name right now. It'll take me an extra second to find it. But
I think I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember the name off the top of my head.
Yes. See here. If I look for SBI. Nope. Here we go. Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew. Final game released by studio collaborator Mamimi. M-I-M-I-M-I. Mimimi. Final game as the studio shut down. This from April 24th, actually. But this is relevant because it's games like this that are supposed to be worked on. So, if you actually go and list of the 4 groups in question now, you have Forspoken from Luminous. You have Volition and Deep Silver through Embracer Group for Saints Row's reboot. You have Mimimi Studios and Shadow Gambit The Cursed Crew. And then finally, Kill the Justice League Suicide Squad, Warner Brothers, and SBI. Because, as was mentioned before in my Yapponomics video on my channel, Grant K. Roberts, as well as Amy Lee Shaw, I believe her name is, as well as Grant K. Roberts directly himself, and specifically Kim Blair, were 4 of the unknown total number of employees from Sweet Baby Inc. that were actually acting and writing in a capacity that did not actually mirror their job titles based on the IMDb links, which of course everybody's already seen before, but if you haven't seen them, they're in the Yapponomics video, they're towards the end. They're not hard to find. Basically, people being touted as just writing the blogs and the blurbs and the logs and the lore and the text speech bubbles for characters were actually touted as senior writers. And lo and behold, you now lost $200 million of revenue, just like the revenue loss that was lost from the rest of these games. With very much in the case of Volition, because Embracer waited for their sales call before they made the call on ridding the game. And it was announced that that money loss was what led to them being closed. And remember how braggadocious and loud everyone was involved in that, and how Black Girl Gamers were the ones that worked with Luminous on Forspoken, were very loud about that one, and that game got closed, and the other game got closed, and Lord knows the rest of these being worked on being closed, and the rest of the games that will exist along the side of that happening as well, which actually ties into Zao, Tales of Gonzaria, also having hands with SBI, but that's not because SBI worked on the game, but because the founders of Sweet Baby Inc. actually worked with the person who was the citing IP source behind the game. This is a hard name to pronounce, it's Kenyan. Abu Bakr Salim, actor on a show called Raised by Wolves, which is sci-fi origination. Holler if you know about it. First generation, I believe actually second generation Kenyan, but let's go with second. Second generation reared Kenyan. went to this company to get them to work on their game. But because SBI has touched it, for people like Rudis Rambo, it is poison. Yet, it did all of the things that we would have asked for people to do when, if they have an idea, don't attach yourself to a brand idea. Don't attach yourself to the success of another game and company and try to subvert it from the inside with your Marxism. Just simply make new shit. He did all the things, and more than likely, he's not going to be rewarded for it. He will probably fall down on his face because the amount of people who have supported playing that game, they did not show up to buy that purchase. And this will just keep happening. And I say all of that to then ask you, why did you guys suffer through that? Why did you allow them to set you up for a failure like this? And who's going to be blamed? Because now that we have the number from Warner Brothers, remember, nobody knows what they worked on. It is not public knowledge. You know what is public knowledge? That big fat ass L y'all motherfuckers just took. Who's going to hold the L? Who's going to hold the L? It's not going to be SBI, I can promise you that. It's not going to be any of the all the firms, I can promise you that. They're not going to be the ones suffering the L. They're not going to be the ones that suffer the embarrassment. They don't hold the final consequence. You, the developers, do. All of the desire to be one of the good ones. And what did it get you? Fucked. Loss of money. Loss of trust. Loss of faith. Broken player bases. Broken games. Broken dreams. Broken keyboards. Broken chairs. And broken egos. But the ones who are sailing out on the golden parachute, just like Bobby Kotick, disappearing from Blizzard, it is them. This isn't a win for the consumers. It's not a win for me. I didn't win here. But listen, guys, we won. Glaze and pay no attention to the fire that started in the back. I don't know what else to say other than I can't believe that happened, but then again, I can believe it. If all it takes to get people to throw you the flowers is basically give them what they want and then distract them so you can screw them over at a later date, I don't know what to say. Because, like, haha, we won. They listened to us on Helldivers. Did they really? They didn't listen to the developers. They didn't listen to their business acumen. They didn't listen to the players. Because, like, the greatest problem I have with Helldivers, specifically in the situation with Helldivers, is that a lot of people who were coming through with Helldivers, they were casuals, if we want to be serious about it. A lot of those players that were coming through, as they always do, the Weekend Warriors and the casuals, they saw the game, they saw that it was being talked about on all the platforms, including platforms like TikTok, where a bunch of literally who are you content creators were basically glazing the situation and making up a bunch of brouhaha about nothing. They brought people into the game, and those were the people that were basically asking to get fucked over by Sony. By saying, bro, I just want to play the game. It's not too hard. I want to be involved. I want to be popular. I want to be famous. I want to be included. And it's that desire and call for inclusion with absolutely no checksum that leads to Sony getting what they wanted here. Because for all those people, yay, I don't have to care about this anymore. I can just go back to playing the game. And that's what happened. Even if people were to talk about it now, it'd take a lot of agitation to get Sony to revert these changes. Because until they revert those changes about the banned countries, this problem's not solved. This wound isn't healed. I don't know. That's my opinion. What's your opinion?
What?
That's my opinion on the
What's your
situation.
opinion on this
What's
whole
your
thing?
opinion? Everyone's opinion.
Oh, I think it's fucking dumb. As somebody who used to be very much a Sony fangirl up until like the PS4, it just makes me sad.
And in terms of seeing like the casual audience just go, yeah, it's done. Who cares? I'm glad. Like I said, I'm so glad Thor came through and went, nah, this ain't over. They're just turning it around again while you guys aren't looking. Step the fuck up, and I fucking love it.
An educated.
I'm gonna sound like a glazer, but I will glaze the fuck out of Thor for that one. That one deserved.
I glazed Dimitri when we talked about it on Versus Chat and looked at some of his videos talking about these exact issues. I was up there and I still have the tweets up. I glazed Dimitri's nuts because it is so frustrating to deal with people who do not pay enough attention. I equated this the other day when I needed to go do the thing I needed to do after the stream 2 days ago and yesterday, where my wife asked me, "Why do you play League if it frustrates you?" And I had to explain to her that it's not the game itself that is the problem. The game itself and its mechanics and its system and its design and its involvements are fun. What is not fun are the players that you're playing with. And she explained to me, or rather, I asked and she explained. And I explained. She asked me and I explained to her, and then she asked me to explain it again. And she tried to explain to me how she thinks about that, and then I explained to her again. Playing these games with casuals who have absolutely no care about the space that's made, because I don't believe in communities, but I do believe in spaces. I believe in if I built something, that if I occupy that space, I should have a say, and I should have an involvement in the say of how things are conducted there. Imagine that you play a video game with a person where you tell them, hey, there's $100 bill next to your feet. Pick it up. And for 30 minutes to an hour or more at a time, 4 or more other people, even if it's another person, any number of person that you're playing with in a video game, as you tell them, there is money by your feet. Please look down and pick it up. Refuse not only to do it, but because you told them there's money, they will actively do everything possible to ignore doing it. That's how these things happen. Because people are not being told by, quote, the people they consider to be the leaders of a group, that means that group should follow their lead and their word. Now, to use examples, because I had a conversation about this the other day with a person who was trying to basically justify Mark Kern's poor treatment by the toxic CM, where effectively I asked them, do you think it's acceptable and okay that they're allowed to fuck over the things that you would like to be involved with or buy, and you think it's acceptable and okay just because you don't like the person who's involved? A bunch of them said yeah. And so I asked them, the same way that you brought up Thor, if it was myself and Thor who were talking about this and leading the charge on this issue, rather than Mark Kern and Brutus Rambo, would you still sit there and glaze their nuts and be hyper-focused on things that do not matter at the end of the day? Because I did notice that Brutus Rambo thought the situation was solved and resolved. I saw that tweet. The gamers won. Speech to the people. Where's the power for the people? Where is it, Brutus? You know where it is? Can you find it? Can you point it out to me? And ironically enough, the response the person said to me was, yeah, I would, but it's because I don't see you or him as a grifter. Which that's an entirely separate situation and conversation. But on the matter of this, I'm disappointed by a lot of consumers. Now, I don't expect Sony posts.
I'm not disappointed as much as I am just, yeah, I get it, but you guys still need to keep an eye on things.
But that requires them to
if you're doing something casual, you're never going to look that deep into it. And people, I get, aren't looking at it. That's why I'm glad there's larger people going, hey, pay attention. I know I got a big audience who plays this shit, so give it a look and tell your buddies.
It's that basically is called being a lightning rod. Yeah, there's a bunch of lightning rod accounts, of course. One of which that I watched earlier today, being empty sanctifier. But let's not talk about that anymore. It is important to have lightning rod accounts because if you want to describe the reason why I bring them up, when you have somebody who commands attention, anything that you look at is going to be hyper focused on, both for the positives and for the negatives. So, in the case of Mark Kern, for example, because I think we've said all we have to say on this, and I want to move on to the next thing. But I think this would be interesting for people to know, because I do see Sipshidian inside the chat. Holla out to my boy. When you're a lightning rod account and you spend your time looking into stories for the purposes for either talking about them for news or being involved in them for how they happen, there is a very important focus that you need to have. That if you're going to talk about something, you need to talk about all of it. Don't just hyper focus on the one thing that you care about. So, for example, if you go to a cake shop and that cake shop sells lemon cakes and cherry cakes, but you only care about cherry cakes, and there's an outbreak in the lemon cakes that's actually causing people to catch a form of cordyceps, you don't just look at the cherry cakes and say, well, the cherry cakes ain't fucked. Sucks to be you. And then get surprised when the shop gets closed down and you say, bro, what happened? I thought we were safe. Well, it's like, well, the cherry cakes got infected too a week later, and we couldn't be able to solve it because nobody was willing to talk about the problem with the lemon cakes and the cherry cakes because they only cared about the cherry cakes since the lemon cakes were to be purchased. That's what you guys did here, more or less. And those
it's a case of poisoning the well by ignoring the problem.
Yes. Half the problem with this is that I understand the reason why some people have these opinions. Trust me, Lord have mercy. Mark Kern, make some games, nigga. Shut the hell up and make some games, nigga. Because why is he involved here when he is writing on basically his past fame of being a ex-Blizzard North dev? Yes, 20 years, 25 years, I think actually it's 30 years, having been in the games industry, making games like Diablo and World of Warcraft, and being one of the leading voices, if not the leading voice, that created World of Warcraft Classic and all of the additional Seasons of Explorations and Journey servers for people to play on, for those that hate retail WoW. But you're getting in slap fights on the internet. You are constantly going back and forth with Elisa Macante, who very desperately wants to be the new Anita Sarkeesian. So much so that she posed in front of her green screen, hoping that people would take the bait on her. It's ridiculous.
Carl, I believe you've once again lost the plot here.
No, I know that's what I said.
Bring it back.
My point is,
Reel her in.
My point is, he doesn't make games, but he wants to talk about the games news. But both him and Rambo did not cover this situation. But there were people that basically only accepted information through them, and then some people who refused the information through them because I don't like this person, I'm not going to listen to the coverage. It's the same thing as saying, oh, I don't look at what Carl says because I don't like Carl. So even though Carl told you that your neighborhood was about to be shot up and robbed by gang leaders, you just decided to ignore it because it was Carl that said it? And they said, yeah. And it made my eyes cross in outrage because I can't believe that's where we're at right now. I can't believe we haven't learned anything from Gamergate 1. I can't believe people are still this lazy.
People always will be this lazy, Carl. Anyways, speaking of poisoning the well, which I was going to segment to like 5 minutes ago, there is a poison well we actually have to look at. And the big reason we brought our guest here. Because, let's face facts here, everyone fucking loves Chris Hansen. He was that show was pretty cool. How to Catch a Predator? It was a great show to watch. And, everyone loved it because, yeah, that's some shit we should do. And then everyone and their mother went to go try and be pedo hunters, and we saw how Mama Max ended up. And now, how La Convoy ended up. So before I ask you some shit about it, Carl and Horror, what you guys know about this?
So I was the one that brought this to Carl's attention because I was watching some streams of Beckett of Crabs, aka Stardust's boyfriend, ginger boyfriend from the UK. And I also was turned on to this because I used to run in the same group as Tipster, which I've got lots of thoughts on that. But through him, I met Hopeless Peaches. And I knew kind of their, like, calling out people doing really weird shit in Discord servers with kids or around kids. And yeah, that should be called out. But then I started to learn about some of the shady shit that Lio does. So when I saw that there was a stream about everything imploding and saw a particular call with a, how do I want to put this? Forrest Gump-like woman in a server called the Senate, I became interested and started watching these streams about Lio and Peaches and everybody inside of the Senate, which is the art commentary community, or the ACC. And I brought this to Carl's attention and said, I have a rabbit hole for you to play around in. And lo and behold, it took like 3 streams, and now it is the topic of the very first episode here.
Technically, second episode of
Because
season 2, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we're not going on testicalities, Carl. This is the first one that's actually labeled the fried chicanery.
In my case specifically, I see some shit, like I noticed just out the blue, some people getting called out left and right. Now, I don't care about the art community very much. I just don't. And it's not a matter of I don't like them or nothing. I just don't feel one way or the other. You know, it's dead neutral. I have a few friends there, and I have
Same.
a few people who I just can't stand there.
Same.
So it's like, you know, whatever. And then I see one of my mutuals getting fucking jumped on, and I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on here. So I look around, I get some info on Lio, because apparently he's the one running the whole group who does it. And I'm like, all right, let me give Lio a talk. And I did. And I had about maybe half an hour to 45-minute talk with him. It was me and him on call, and I was telling him, look, if you're going to keep doing this shit, you need to do it right. There are better ways to go around it than just getting a group call together and fucking harassing them, because, I mean, if we're looking in the legal sense, that's not gonna go anywhere. Like, that will actively throw a case into the fucking toilet. Holy fuck. But also, putting people under duress, never a good look. Putting people under duress and hitting them with slurs, even worse.
People under duress, hitting them with
slurs.
Hitting them with slurs, and then denouncing their trauma and medical problems when they demand that you acknowledge and play by the rules of theirs.
While on
Literally that Batman.
While at the same fucking time falsely accusing you. Or even sometimes more aggravating, exaggerating claims to make you look worse than you actually are.
And in some cases, utilizing guilt by association with, as every content creator would say, is fucking bullshit.
Because we're not the fucking, how is this in YouTube friendly way? We're not the losing side of the war in 42. We don't fucking play that.
Nope.
Guilt by association ain't shit. Don't fucking do that. God damn it, man. Anyway, the reason I brought our guest on is because our guest has not only bore witness, but dealt with Lio's stupid ass. Well, more specifically, Lio's circle of people. Because I will say outright, if we're gonna give shit to Lio, it's gonna turn into a fucking Hague, because I'm going for everyone in that circle. Everyone who falsely accuse people, harass people, put people under duress just to say, to make confessions because, well, I just need to get out of here. No, motherfucker. I want all of them. To quote a very fun line, I want them hung by jumping cables. That's a joke. That is a fucking reference.
In
YouTube.
Minecraft.
Smile.
In Terraria.
In
Roblox.
Nadia. But
And
jokes
Fortnite.
aside, right? Like, shitposts aside, no, genuinely, I do want these people to be looked into, because holy fuck, it is just that bad that they are on fucking video being supported by YouTube, chatters, harassing individuals who either, maybe they were weird, and that's, fair game to go after them and bully them a little bit, but don't put them under duress in an attempt to make, be a court, which, by the way, the Senate really, come the fuck on.
And the one that came out after that was called the Supreme Court.
Which is, they just don't, this is fucking childish. They are not judge or executioner. They're barely able to take a fucking case.
Lio, you're not Judge Dredd. You can't play those kind of games.
But apparently he likes to play those games. No, she's just muted.
I'm here. I was just waiting. I didn't want to be rude.
Mm-hmm.
You're all good.
So we're chatting Cathy's.
We're going on and on a bit, but before I forget, I want to just ask for starting thoughts on things. What led to all of this?
Horde putting content in my face.
I mean, on ammo. He means on ammo side of things.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
A while ago, I was in a situation in which, when I was 18, I was in a server full of people who were, I'm going to go with very raunchy in their humor. And I engaged in the raunchy humor. I was only freshly 18, so I engaged in this raunchy humor. And there was two people who were a year, 17, and 2 years, 16, under me, found me uncomfortable. And these caused a lot of arguments. And later, on, like years later, years, because this was in 2020, so I was 18, and now that I'm 21, going on 22, I get pulled into this Senate hall, and that's kind of where it all started, where this interaction began.
So what you
I'm gonna start off asking. Wait, they didn't even tell you they were comfortable beforehand?
Hold on. Actually, no. That's actually wrong information. Can you answer that first, please?
What?
They didn't tell you that they were underage.
No, not underage. No. Because the underage part, because remember, Ammo just turned 18. They're still peers. My question is, did they mention they were uncomfortable at all? Like, did they tell you anything? Like, hey, knock it off. Like, did they give that?
They would make these jokes as well, and then if I were like just kind of sitting there, even when I wasn't making these jokes, they would kind of dog on me for just saying things. So it would range anywhere from, yeah, we're totally comfortable, to, yeah, we're uncomfortable. And when they say they were uncomfortable, I would stop and pull back. And then sometimes they would just get on me, even if they weren't a part of the conversation.
So there's vindictiveness there. Now,
there's vindication here.
Yeah, so here's my issue with that stuff. And granted, I've made mistakes with this myself. But I'm of the mind, if you don't know something is broken, you cannot fix it. So if somebody finds you uncomfortable, or make them uncomfortable, or you make them feel not so happy to be in a
certain type of way.
Yeah, you make you feel a certain type of way in a space. You need to communicate that shit to them. You need to not do this bullshit of, I'm gonna hide it because I don't want to talk to you. And I'm gonna treat you like shit because I'm holding something against you. That is the most childish behavior I've ever heard. If you got a problem with somebody, you need to talk to them face to face, or talk to them face to face with a mediator if that makes you feel more comfortable. That's bullshit. You don't get to go just drag somebody in and say, oh, you said sexual shit around me and it made me uncomfy. So I'm gonna go and grab 100+ people who will dog on you for hours on end. Blinking very hard right now. To address this when I was doing the same thing as well. And granted, I've had situations like this that have cost me relationships, even as recently as last year, where I made the mistake of taking me seeing somebody being uncomfortable with sexual jokes and being upset because it was somebody I perceived as a friend or somebody that I was friendly with, and bringing it up on a podcast like the dumbass that I was, who wasn't being treated for certain things, and being aggressive towards people that I was also friendly with. You don't do that shit. I was wrong. That shit's wrong. Don't do it.
This now leads to my serious questions, which was, first, the children came to you, a peer, although technically they're a senior and older than them. They chose to not come to you, but instead went to Lio, to then bring you into the Senate, to then struggle session you.
Oh, sorry. It's more like over the course of, like, this drama was multiple years old, and for the most part, it kind of went under the radar, right? Because it was like okay, everything's kind of, like, everybody's apart at this point. And then years later, the drama resurfaced.
Okay.
And through, I guess I can call them an intermediary, I was pulled into Senate years after this had become like a thing and was past its prime in terms of, like, anything.
Okay. So that then leads me to say, so I'm trying to understand this, because I need to understand exactly how much of a bitch I need to call Leo Convoy to his face. So, you were brought into Senate, not for something that was a constant back and forth between the aggrieved parties and yourself, but old necro-posting bullshit resurfaced and brought forth again years later, from however many times it happened over the course from when it started, from their opinion, to
literally dredging back high school drama.
Yes, they dredged up old shit to accost you about it after never talking to you about it.
Yes, pretty much.
That is retarded.
So what you're telling us is that it was a slow news day and they needed somebody to bully, so they went after you.
Pretty much.
I mean, it had to be. I feel like there isn't much of another option for it.
Oh, okay. Can you walk us through that, please?
So the exact call happened. I was on a call with my friend, and one of the staff members got into the server, which had at this point been private. Right? They gained an invite from someone, and I was pulled into a Senate call in which 3 people were waiting for me. And at first, they seemed almost professional. Like, I was like, okay, things probably are gonna go. I probably just have to explain myself, and this will all go away. But then it slowly starts to devolve. I mean, like slow in a matter of like impatient people time. So in the course of about 10 or so minutes, it breaks down into this like name calling, accusation throwing between 3 people, and I'm trying to keep my head above water as there is more and more crap being thrown my way. The insults, them picking out every like weird thing to bring up. Like they've dug through.
How are we talking here?
Like they were trying to claim I was a zoophile and all this other crazy crap. Because they had gone through my Discord information and found I had entered some furry server all the way back in 2016, 2015. And
That's fucking gay.
I had to figure out, right? No, this server, there's a lot of context behind this server. Does anybody here know what Furry Valley is?
I don't.
No.
Please tell us.
Good. It is a furry server that is more like a cult.
Okay.
I found out about them via Kiwi Farms. So
it all leads back to the farms.
It all leads back to the farms, baby. So I was a kid on Kiwi Farms, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna fuck with the furries. I'm gonna mess around with these guys because they're a cult. They're weirdos. They want to bang animals. They want to indoctrinate people. So I go in there. Right, and I say on the Kiwi Farms, I go, I'm going in there. I'm gonna fuck them up. I'm gonna beat that guy. I'm pretty sure even the farmers were like, what is this like 12-year-old doing on our website? I think it was about like maybe 15, 16 maximum. And that's me just trying to like offhand my age. I am a dumbass for that. I was a child with unsupervised internet.
Like a lot of
as everyone else in Lio Convoy server.
And I walked in there, and I immediately saw something I didn't want to, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. It was furry NSFW, and I'm like, I'm out.
That's not shocking.
I'm gonna head out.
I mean, walks into the furry loot server, sees furry loots. Oh, good goodness, how did this happen? And I left. Like, I didn't stay there. I haven't stayed there at all. And from there, I had to get back into my old Kiwi Farms account. Had to try and remember my password. Go get a new password. Deal with that fuck awful captcha they have. Get back onto the website and then go through my post history to find the exact post where I said, guys, I'm the account named Fluttershy. I'm going to kick their ass. And they were like, oh, I guess she wasn't his fault. The fact that they even brought this up was insane to me. Like, I didn't even have a chance to gather any, like, thing. I didn't know what I was being accused of. I was thrown in a call with Hopeless Peaches, Lumitro Art, and, like, a third person, right? And they doggone me so hard for it. Like, they were all just insult after insult, forcing me to apologize. It was a nightmare incarnate.
Do you remember that person?
Huh? Yes, I think it was Untitled something. It was kind of just generally very insane. Like, imagine you're crying and someone goes, oh, she's fake crying now. Look at her go. She's just sad she got caught. And you're just scared because there are 3 grown-ass women terrorizing you. Women. 1 grown-ass woman at the time and 2 dudes terrorizing the daylights out of you. Because you walk in here and you have no idea what's going on.
So
Believe you me, Tamrata. I don't have to pretend. I experienced that recently.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
So basically, you're saying that this group of degenerates on multiple levels dogpiled, not only dogpiled you, but they sneak dogpiled you, and then they called you an animal fucker because you were an edgy teenager at some point. But they also worshipped and propped up a literal furry as their lord and savior of the Senate and their leader. Can
Yeah, pretty
somebody
much.
spell hypocrisy for me?
I believe it's...
LIO.
Yep, thank you. Irony. Thy name be Senate.
Do you have any particular pieces of information that you've saved from that altercation and others?
The call,
Do you have the call on hand?
the audio.
Yes.
I should. Yeah.
Can we see it?
I don't know. Hold on. First of all, how long is it?
Yes.
It is over an hour. It is a massive.
We're not playing that shit on air.
Yeah,
No, we're not doing
okay.
that. We can look at that later, and maybe
We'll have it on hand.
if she agrees, we can play it on a Carl stream at some point.
At some point, I wasn't gonna play it here. I just want to see it. I want to hear it for myself.
We want to laugh. We want to giggle
True.
at how bad these people are.
But
Not at your pain. Not at your pain.
No, it's fine.
At them for being horrible, terrible people while also purporting themselves as these virtuous
Moral arbiters.
Moral arbiters, yes. While they virtue signal out the ass.
the main reason why I want to have it on hand, because I'm sure that you noticed it because you were telling us about it, even though you did not know at the time that I had already seen it, about Lyle Convoy being raked over the coals by Stardust and her lawyer friend, confronting him about his behavior. And the reason why I want to know if you have that audio on tape is because your story needs to be told. It doesn't mean that it needs to be told by me, but your story needs to be told. And so it's better it be said and shown and heard so that whenever it comes back up again, or whenever the conversation of Lyle Convoy and supposed pedo hunters returns, as an ex-Fed that worked with my government, specifically the Georgia State Department and the Columbus Consolidated Government, which is the town in which I live in. This is not new information. I'm not doxing myself here. This has already been known. I've already been doxed. I, for one, wow, that's crazy. Secondly, you already admitted that you were crazy for that as a kid, but you realize how crazy that was as a kid, right? I'm gonna go fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just replace this with any other group. Me, 12-year-old snot-nosed kid, I'm gonna go up to those gang dealers and I'm gonna tell them to stop selling drugs.
Like, don't worry,
Drugs are bad. I'm gonna walk up and say, crack is whack, crack is cheap.
That's wild.
I don't.
You got
don't waste my time making all this money just waste it all on crack. Wet.
Just to shove it up my nose.
You know,
I'm
that's
gonna
wild.
walk up to all those pirators and go, come on, don't copy that floppy.
Copy that floppy.
God
But
damn it.
I'll message you one thing. It's not just Lio, it's his entire community that is culpable.
Well, yes, of course. That's what I was about to say. That's this second thing. You admit that's wild, cool. But then the third thing, the biggest thing that I experienced as I sat through the coping and the seething of the lion is that Leo Convoy, regardless of any amount of fault that could be levied onto himself or his audience or his group of people he put under his care or his direct concern in his home situation, every single time I've heard him speak on the pieces of content in which I have witnessed from him, he has demonstrated that he does not have the capacity to be a leader. He cannot do it. He cannot do it on a functional level. Does that mean that I believe I'm the greatest leader of all time? No. But I at least have the ability to, one, know when I've done something that is wrong and admit when I am wrong. But then also, two, to set forth a design of choices, systems, and methods so that everybody can be able to, one, be heard, and two, communicate effectively. Because I don't know how you can call yourself a leader and you lead 100, technically 98 people. 98 other people to harass a single person, or even be at the head of a group where 3 people can harass 1 person, and none of them catch a ban. I don't know how you can do that, because it behooves a level of stupidity, which is at a level that can only be expressed in the phrase, "Really, nigga? Are you serious? Really, nigga? Are you serious? That's what you do, Leo? Really, nigga? You're so upset about these things happening that you're willing to do what you have threatened to do in a call against children, adults, men, women you think that you're stronger than, or that you know more than. You're willing to put yourself in all those positions and say to people like Akumu, or argue against people like Gilded Poo, shout outs to those two, and the content that I've watched of theirs, that oppressed me to the situation. You're going to tell all those people, no, I'm not wrong, you're wrong. And yet you can't even have a normal conversation. Normal conversation. And I'm not talking about accosting him for his emotional reaction, because that's probably the worst part in question. I'm so sorry that they did that to you, Amaretta. Especially the fact that they were willing to then use your emotional reaction to their violent assault of your personhood as a justification to then press harder. Because look, guys, she's cracking! That is probably the most evil shit that I have ever heard or seen or have communicated to me within the last 10 years of my life, which is about as long as I've been on the internet publicly, but not as long as I've been actively working at content creation. And in my entirety of my existence, for all close to 30 years of my life, 30 years this year, woo, I cannot believe that there are people that believe that it is just or right or fair that they're going to use the reaction you have to their violence against you, verbal, emotional, otherwise, and then double down and say, no, we're in the right here. Because you see, if she weren't crying, that's how we know we were wrong, but she's crying, so that means we're right. Why? Because you have a problem with this. Because it unsettles something personally. I don't know if it's as in your spirit, but it personally unsettles something in my spirit. Because it means that no matter what you have done, even if you tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, they would have never heard you out. If they would have had things their way, they would have murdered you. This is how I accumulated this when this happened to me recently. Basically, Amaretta, they tried to kill you. That's the best way I can phrase this to you. I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to I'm trying to hyper sensationalize it and make it sound bigger than it is, but that's emotionally why that's distressing. Would you say that that's fair or unfair?
I say that's very fair. Like, as someone who was in that situation, I felt like I was gonna die.
I'm sorry.
How do I explain it? No, you're fine. It's like, it felt like, in a way, in that call, when I had 3 people sitting in there dogging on me as hard as they could, and it still makes me red in the face to think about it, right? Mm-hmm. I was so scared because, like, it's similarly to the rooms call, they hadn't checked, like, if there was anything with me that might have messed with my stress levels, or, like, if stress could do anything to me. I could have dropped dead. Mm-hmm. I have a very weak heart. It has been bruised multiple times. I'm told multiple times by my doctor, my PCP, take it easy, don't get overstressed, you can hurt yourself. I could have dropped dead. That's, like, terrifying to me. That's always been terrifying to me, and I never told anybody because, like, it's really personal, but at the same time, like, that's dangerous. Like, that was playing with my health, even staying there.
Yeah, and even if you had said something, they would have said that you were lying, and they would have been absolute assholes about it. But guys, my trauma, I revert back to a 3-year-old goo goo gaga. You need to baby me.
Extremely crazy that is a thing that was actually said by Hopeless Speeches, but yes.
But horror, a ducky.
Ducky. I still can't believe if that's real. I still can't believe that's how they feel. But yes, because I would say, in your opinion, would you say that at the time you would have seen them as a friend before that situation had happened to you, Amaretta?
Yes, actually, not as a close friend.
I'm not saying as a close friend, but like, you think of these people as friendly. You believe that they are willing to hear you out, even if they have a problem with you.
Yes.
Would you say that
Uh,
part of your distress comes from believing people you see as friends, or quote, call you their friend, treating you as though you were a stranger, and not even giving you the grace to be heard and speak without them attempting to emotionally abuse you?
absolutely.
Hmm.
Like I can list off like not many, but at least a few positive encounters I had with Peaches, where it led to a bad encounter with Lio. But my favorite one was Peaches like came into a call and was like, "Hey guys, let's all bully Lio because he tended to do that." And I came in and I was a little hyped because I'm like, "Okay, all right, Peaches is telling me we're gonna bully Lio." I didn't know Lio was in a terrible mood, right? And I threw some light insult. I lightly ribbed him, and he went off. And he went off bad. And then Peaches, after that happened, kind of defended me and was like, "Hey, you know, and at least this guy's a pussy with guts. You guys sat there quietly when Lyle came in, and she ribbed him a little, right?" And I was like, "Oh, that made me feel strong." So walking into that call felt like a gunshot wound,
Hmm.
right? And they had like, and Peaches was so nice after they had heard that I had the same birthday as Sonic, which was like a character that they really liked. So it hurt so much seeing somebody that we had these conversations with. And again, not trying to say that we were closer, mega friendly,
You were
but like
friendly.
You were
yeah,
friendly
like
enough to call them
we were at
friend.
least friendly enough. And just having that happen was I can't even explain it, like a nightmare.
Well,
Like
that's really what it is when you're inside of it. Because, in my opinion, when this happened to me, mine was not necessarily like yours because I have experience dealing with these situations. It was more confusion, of course. Where is this coming from? You haven't even explained to me what the hell's going on here. You can't even answer my questions. That's what I experienced, but it was very much similar. With even more people that should not have been involved in the situation, being involved in it and then hyper incentivizing it to get out of hand until a particular person went out of their way to get the outcome that they wanted by effectively turning and poisoning everybody that they thought they could get on their side against me for no other reason than because, haha, I don't like this person. It very much feels like a gunshot. Uh, I would
I'm so
character.
sorry that happened.
Shit happens. Part of that happening is because I'm in the position of a content creator. If I wasn't a person who made content and I was just some regular person, they wouldn't have done that. But because I'm the strong personality I am, with the background and the things that have happened to me that I have, whether I am slightly embellishing or in many cases just outright blankly telling the truth, that particular situation happened because I spoke to them the same way that I'm speaking to you here. But in that case, I exposed a bit of Carl lore that some of them outside of my audience did not know about. And them hearing about it made them decide that I must not be an honest person, which then led to an whole breakdown. Don't need to get into it, but I experienced what you experienced. I understand what you're feeling. And it's not only right for you to have that emotion, but it's right for you in the future, which would be my suggestion. When somebody does that, just dip on them niggas. Just leave. They will be so flabbergasted by you leaving that they won't know what to do with themselves. Because it's not, in your case, it literally is not worth your health.
Yeah,
That's,
dip and don't give them any attention after that.
Yeah.
Because they'll get bored. They've got nothing on you.
It is not of my opinion that they had a justified reason to accost you, let alone to dredge it up as though it was news that was deserving. And it certainly did not justify them effectively doing a small amount of stalking on your background to then justify their rage. Their rage is not justified. Leave them. Ignore them. Literally leave the call, and if they try to accost you saying, you get back here, otherwise we're going to do this, just I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. It ain't worth it, bro.
I'm gonna do my own thing.
Nah, bitch, nah. Who is you, my mother? No, don't do that. Just be like, nah.
In the words of another radio show host out there, who are these people?
I'm out.
Yep.
Was there anything else that you experienced while you were in the company of Leo Convoy that you feel comfortable telling us?
Yes, about the size of these gallery calls. Now, I've heard that they've changed these, but from any evidence I have seen relating to it, they really haven't. The size of the call. was another really big problem because they had come to the conclusion, right? They're like throwing these accusations out, saying this, that, and the third. And the chat is both misinterpreting the accusations and parroting the incorrect accusations out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And after a while, I couldn't see chat because the way that the Senate worked is that if you were in the hot seat, that's what I'm going to call it, in the hot seat, the flaming seat. If you were up for execution, frankly, they would strip you of any role you had, and they would throw you in this place called, I forget what it's called, like, it was a pit room, literal blood sports pit room, where you could only speak once every 5 hours. And they had this thing called like the gallery room because they wanted to run it like a court. And in there would be 100+ people. I don't know if my personal call is that big. I'm a nobody, right? I'm not like a major YouTuber. I wasn't a major player in this community. Nobody really knew me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't see the gallery context. Like, you can't see the gallery chat where all the people are talking. But I heard over from what Peaches has said, no, chat. She's not a pedophile. Come on, guys. No, chat. And they had to wrangle chat. And that terrified me because I couldn't see it. But now I know. These guys think I'm a fucking pedophile. I hope that's not bad things to say on the
It shouldn't be, but the easiest way to say this is I do not consume pizza. I don't like my pizza with cheese. We hate dairy around here.
I don't pick up any combat points. I'm not a cyberpunk player. None of that.
But from the way that you're explaining this, because I've dealt with the legal system, anybody who's ever done like jury duty, this is not how courts are meant to work. Technically, the only time you have a public court is when you are dealing with something that has a grand jury. And those are for the televised cases like that of O.J. Simpson and things like that. And usually now, which is also a part of why the courts are ran this way, so you don't have people in the courtroom, which is why you have those pictures that are illustrations of the transactions and the occurrences inside of said courtrooms. That was not.
So that we know.
That was not. Well, it's how the court system is supposed to be ran. Just simply because you have sensitization, and this is part of it. Is why I'm saying that was not a court that they set up. They set up an actual gladiatorial hot seat combat arena with skybox viewing windows to harass people into silence. That's what they created. They created a struggle session room, and they designed it in such a way to maximize the anxiety and the misinformation and decrease the amount of safe and harm reduction that could be used for the people that stood as the accosted and aggrieved party, so that everyone could be able to say, listen, bro, it's not my fault, everybody else was doing it. Which again, this is the reason and examples of why Leo Convoy should not be allowed to be a content creator, let alone be a leader in an audience, a group, or a space, wherever he goes. What the fuck?
No, wait, no. Don't say he can't be a content creator, because then we can't laugh at him.
Well, he is granted the title of content creator, but does not sit on the content council.
He does not go here.
We
want to laugh at you. Please don't stop making content. We want to laugh.
Oh, by all means, keep trying to defend yourself. I will be more than happy to cover the coverage, because in many people's case, they don't want to laugh at you. I want to laugh at you, but I want to make something useful. I want to have an entertainment point from this. What can we learn from what Leo Convoy has done, not only to you, Amaretta, but will potentially be doing again in the future, where he believes he is safe to be seen because nobody perceives him? First thing is that, wow, that's crazy. That takes intention. That takes malicious intention to design something like that, Like, you and I had to bang out the changes to update the server with the new role reversal zone for basically 4 to 5 days, right? And we still make occasional updates to it every now and again for things that we could just tweak to make better. That took a lot of effort from us. Granted, we got it done in the time we did, but that took a lot of effort from us. compared to how the server was before and how I just created that between myself and the first head mod, who he's less active, so I asked him about it. He was fine with giving up the role. They were not designed with any kind of malicious hiding of things in the first place. If you wanted to perturb keeping people away from access to tools and information and methods of communication, it was not designed to like prevent people from speaking. No? Yes, no?
No, it wasn't. It was more meant to, I guess, standardize certain areas of the Discord for, like, getting certain topics covered that have been vetted.
Just trying to make a funnel so that you can put things in the correct place, organize things. This comes from the background of working in architecture. I like things to be structured. And that doesn't mean that I don't like doesn't mean that I don't like disorder. It just means I like to have order in my disorder. Because when you don't have order in your disorder, you effectively have Leo Convoy. Because to design a Senate room, quote, Senate room, where you have people effectively standing as the disembodied figureheads while somebody else accosts someone else in front of this galactic Senate like that of Star Wars. The amount of effort that it takes to do that has to be envisioned with a design in goal. This is like designing a murder machine. What's the most effective way to murder someone versus what's the most egregious and long drawn-out method that you could do? Some people would say hearing Carl talk nonstop, but you gotta understand, the amount of malice that goes into what they did to you cannot be understated. That doesn't happen by accident. You don't accidentally harass your friend in front of an audience of potential hundreds for it to then be recorded and then presented amongst thousands of millions that now have to sit there in captivated silence thinking, hey, yo, what did she do to make y'all that mad? What happened?
And then because, right, I could not publicly present my evidence like to the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had to do, because I couldn't talk anywhere except the place where I'd already sent a message, where I'd have to wait 5 hours before I sent anything. I had to send the evidence to one of the admins, which was in the call, which was Lumitro Art. And he did not show this evidence to the gallery. So the claim had been made, and I had disproved the claim with the evidence showing the message of who I was, why I was in that server, right? And when I got kicked out of the server, and right, and all that. I had even gotten into fights on Twitter with the admin staff of that exact server, like saying, y'all are a bunch of Fido lovers, right? Y'all weirdos and cultists, and your mascot sucks, right? Like I was on those Twitters, right, showing all that context. Lumitro showed none of that to the gallery. They just kind of went, no,
the narrative.
It would defeat the narrative.
Yeah, right. And then they were like, oh wait, we forgot to tell all the gallery folks that claim was disproved. And I'm sitting here going, you didn't show them earlier, or why didn't you? Right? Like, I couldn't say anything because I'm terrified, but I'm like, why didn't they show that? Right? And so I'm basically crying, going, I don't do that. I don't do any of that. Right? I'm a stumbling mess in that situation. And it feels horrible because you can't turn around to the jury and go, please, guys, I'm innocent. Right? You can't turn around even to these people who are both judges, juries, and executioners. Right, and very much more executioners than judge or jury. I mean,
they're cosplaying as Judge Dredd.
They're cosplaying.
Right, like we have these 3 terrible, terrible Judge Dredds, and I'm being violently accosted, and they went through everything relating to my Discord to make sure that I was some kind of awful person without any of the context. Right, so I'm being stripped of context, being stripped of the ability to show the context, and on top of that, being stripped of the ability to even fight back or have emotions in the first place. Because when I do, I get told that I'm wrong. And I think the worst part of that is actually being forced to apologize.
Because how long did this call last? It lasted for about an hour for you?
An hour 45, I think.
Because, granted, the amount of time doesn't matter. What I'm trying to ask here is, do you felt personally like, were you hot? Were you sweaty? Could you feel the heat coming off your body? You could feel the agitation in your sinuses, in your migraines, in the tension being filled in your body. And then as the situation was done, did it stay with you after you disconnected from the call? Like, did
It
you?
stayed with me. I had nightmares about it afterwards. Like, I would wake up in a cold sweat. I would just kind of sit there because my mom had work. So I couldn't go waking her up at 3 in the morning going, Mom, I had a nightmare. I was terrified out of my mind. I would wake up, right? Because I felt a few sharp pains in my chest over and over, right? Feeling my heart thump against my ribcage. I've got a big, big heart. It's enlarged.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of fucked up on basis. And I'm feeling it hit my ribcage, and I feel like I'm about to pass out. Still trying to keep awake just so I can try and talk and anything.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I walked out of the call.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess I was kicked out of the call.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked back into my own server. And I just kind of sat there. And then one of them had the audacity to come into my call and say, "Hey, you feeling okay?" I know that can be a very terrifying situation. It was Lumitro who did that. The person who had forced me to apologize. Oh, like they gave a fuck was actually like one of my inner responses. And then the worst part is, right, because I'd actually been a part of Senate for a while. I was not around for that specific call, and I had no like knowledge of it prior to this exact situation, right? But they walked in, the audacity to go, "All right, breathe in, breathe out," and I go, and my friend is like, "Well, we're just making sure, you know." My friend was in here like, "I'm making sure she's not gonna fucking off herself," and they're like, "Oh." I forget exactly what they said, but I just remember it made me so upset. Something like, "I've seen when people are gonna kill themselves. This isn't that." And I'm like, huh?
Excuse me. Excuse me?
Excuse me, indeed, right? Because this whole situation, this weird like abuse and then aftercare system they fucking placed.
It's like they think this is some kind of weird, twisted BDSM culture. We're gonna beat you up, and then we're gonna come back and pet your hair and say, "Oh, it's okay. Here's a few treats. Don't kill yourself, please."
You did so well. If you die, your blood is on our hands, and we are legally culpable for that. So don't do that. That would really affect our bottom line if you did that. And it felt terrible.
It actually felt fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's dehumanizing. I felt like an animal being like cornered because I couldn't even go back to my own server or anything. I couldn't even go back to a place of comfort where I could at least relax without being further accosted and humiliated.
Yeah.
That's so demoralizing.
Yeah. So it must feel in a way vindicating seeing all this stuff coming out and seeing all of them get their karma, their just desserts for the kind of shit they were doing to you and other people. I can't that has to be like the biggest giggle for you.
It does, but at the same time it's like I'm still going to, right, because one of them was bringing up at least some valid criticisms towards my bad behavior, because I mean I was being a bad teenager. I was a teenager, right? Well, I was still being bad. I needed to like accost for that. I'm still going to go, yeah, I'll fix myself in that regard. But I'm not going to like think, yeah, these guys are the reason why, because these guys are just a bunch of bullies and frankly hypocrites, given what I had learned about Peaches specifically.
Yep.
Like, what an interesting character she is.
Yep.
Excuse me, he is. I'm not anti-trans.
No. They're they them now apparently.
They keep changing it.
Yeah, I've said it before. They're literally utilizing pronouns and being trans, I guess, if you want to call it that, being non-binary, gender fluid, whatever they want to call it.
Gender non-conforming.
Correct. To shield themselves from their bad behavior. And it shows you the level of maturity and the content of their character to do that. If you fuck up, admit you fucked up.
That's what I'm saying.
Hide. Because I fucked up severely in a lot of cases. I was much older than you when I got into some stupid shit online because I just wasn't aware or socially apt to understand what was going on and what was happening and how to protect myself. I still make mistakes to this day. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. Admit that you're wrong and move on. Not just admit that you were wrong and move on. Grow from it. Don't do it again. Show that you've learned. Because that's the problem that I have with a lot of content creators and a lot of people online who go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I fucked up. I understand the consequences of my actions," and then do the same fucking thing weeks, months, days later.
Hours later sometimes.
Hours sometimes, yes.
They go, "I'm sorry," and then immediately tweet out something worse.
Yes. You're not taking any accountability for your actions. You are acknowledging that you did something wrong, but you don't understand why, and you don't understand that you need to stop doing it.
Or more specifically in these situations, because this is not... Leo's not the only person that does this. This is probably a giant conflux of a cottage industry of apologetics that people do when they have to confront things on a virtual standard, where they will say, "I understand I did something wrong," and then they'll go and do something else that is equally, if not greater, worse as a wrong to do. But they'll say, "Bro, I acknowledge that I was wrong. That was so long ago. Why are you still costing me about things that I already apologized for? You don't think that's unfair for you to constantly they're still doing the thing that was wrong for them to do, by the way. You can't do that to me, bro. Internet double jeopardy, bro. Apologies is when you apologize and they don't like it. Like, what do you want me to be? Socialist Jesus? What do you want me to be? Furry God? What do you want me to do? Andrew Work Satan? Come on, bro. Look at the duck. Look at this duck. Look at this ducky graph. Look at it, makes me laugh. It's dumb for 3 reasons. One, this matters greatly if you're a content creator. If you're a public-facing person, or if you're a person who chooses to not be anonymous, you have made a stance for yourself, you made a platform for yourself, you do a job, you do a business, you provide a service, even if all you do is just make videos. If you do something wrong, and you don't, 1, address the fact that you did something wrong, take the multiple steps that are necessary for shadow work, which is another way of saying emotional maturity and positive mental outlooks. If you don't recognize you did something wrong, and then actuate it into effect, you might as well just keep doing what you're doing, bro, because you don't actually give a shit. So, in your situation, the behavior taken by Hopeless Peaches is similar to the behavior that they had in the 100 versus 1 call that happened in the Senate as well. If Hopeless Peaches cared about taking credit and accountability for their actions, since we know these actions to be hers because we've seen the evidence, we saw the clips, she would need to apologize, they would need to apologize, and then they would need to actually put it into effect. They would need to actuate on it and behave like they understand what they did. That's the first problem. Second problem, you cannot then do these things and then attempt to hold other people to a standard that you're not willing to be held to yourself. That is inherent levels of dishonesty and hypocrisy. And that probably irritates me more than anything else. Because it's not just, you knew what you did was wrong. You knew it was wrong, you did it before, but you have the audacity to slap my hand and say, "How dare you?" I'd choke a motherfucker out over something like that. These hands are rated E for everyone. No DLC required. Get your New Game Plus right here.
No subscription needed.
No subscription needed.
Your PSN account.
You do not need Nintendo Online to catch these hands. I mean, like, everybody saw on Twitter, I kind of came out swinging the moment I found out about that. That made me mad.
Mm-hmm.
I learned, I saw the thread. I'm sorry for that little bit of New York. I'm trying to keep the accent down. But I saw
please be New Yorker.
I saw it. I saw the thread where Peaches claimed to have memory issues, except for these really specific parts where they totally remember this clearly. And I just remember going, motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Which is
You got mad at me for a direct apology where I said, I'm sorry for doing this exact thing and it'll never happen again. But you can get to say, I'm sorry, I have memory issues, except this part where I remember it wasn't my fault. Woo.
Mm-hmm. And
fuck yourself.
Yeah, that leads me to my third thing, which is, of course, you don't get to trivialize other people's emotions if you want your emotions to be heard. By all means, that doesn't mean you have to believe a person. So, like, if you know a person is being disingenuous or dishonest, and they're only addressing you because they are sorry that they got caught, you do not get to go to that person and tell them, I'm mad at you. Okay, you're mad at me. What would you like me to do to ameliorate the situation? I need you to apologize, and I need you to give me this grace, and you need to do this, 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 and this. And you're like, I bet. Say no more. It is done. That person does not get to then approach you later, or be approached later, or approach someone else later, without taking into accountability that, oh, I don't want to talk about it. They did a really bad thing to me. They harmed us in a certain way. They offended me. They told a risque joke I didn't approve of. Yeah, but did you do the same thing? Yes, I did, but I don't understand. No, none of that. None of that. Because then I go from using one hand, I use two hands, and I clench harder. Because you can't, once you do those three things, in my mind, in my viewpoint, you can no longer say, bro, it was an accident. No, it wasn't. Not only was it not accidental, it was a malicious follow-through. You wanted an outcome. You didn't stop until you got that outcome. And once you got that outcome, you decided nothing else matters but my personal opinion. And you treated people like they were an NPC. It's very hard to break that attitude once that's established. And in that way, Hopeless Pieces is a fucking lost cause. Realistically, I believe that both Leo Convoy and anyone who still holds him up as, like, the king to be followed, they're also a lost cause as well. They could probably learn, but they would have to be bullied. Don't you worry. We'll make sure that you get that bullying. Not to bully you off the internet because we want to harass you into silence. No. Say everything you feel you need to. I will hear it, but I won't care. Because you showed people that you guys don't care when it matters.
I have a nice big complaint box for you. It's right above my paper shredder. There's a hole.
But yeah, was there anything else in this situation that happened to you that you feel comfortable sharing with us?
Like in the exact situation, because I guess the aftermath is, like it's out there, right? Because the situation itself, after the call, it was pretty much over. Right? I didn't feel too pressed to do very much. Like I had kind of dealt with the nightmares. I felt that I was getting better. I'd moved past it. I saw now something a little funny, I guess. A situation that was a bit of a precursor to what we were going to see with Hopeless Peaches in full was they had gotten into a situation with a different person who I'm not going to name because they don't want to be involved too much with the Peaches thing. But they were a minor who had been mistreated sexually by a like then adult. They were close in age, right? 18 to I think 14. It was a bit of a gap, as I'd say. But they wrote this doc, they got it out, a bunch of other people were working on the doc with them, and Peaches went in there, accosted them, white saviored them, and then got cooked by the entirety of the black art community for it. And then sympathy baited for several hours. And that made me feel a lot better. This was a week after my call, barely a week even. I was sitting there at least like, okay, getting his just desserts, I'm out. I see all this, I kind of recover, right? But it's still, like, you know that lingering pain of, like, I can't even watch a video about the situation if it has any of them in it. Because if I hear their voice, I suddenly I'm shot up with that panic. Like I go, oh, it's them again.
Yes, because you're reliving the trauma that they caused you.
Yeah. I wish I never had it.
We never do when you have traumatic incidents. You never want to have it. And it's not fun having, trust me. I understand 100%.
All in all, you can't be faulted for how you chose to react and behave, because we don't live in a mirror dimension where you get to replay events like Time Hollow. You don't get to go back and have Johnny Young Bosch explain to you how actually your aunt is your aunt because she was saved from committing suicide by falling to her death. Not even joking. It is a point-and-click adventure game on the DS. You can go find it.
Well, that was hard. That was hard. I might ask for that later.
But you don't get to time hollow your way through events in life, or rather, you don't get to rewind events in your life and then fracture off into a mirror dimension where you can go up to yourself and be like, "Hey yo, these niggas been to do some real fucking gay shit to you. You should get out of here." You don't get to do that. Should we live in that timeline? Yeah, should we live in that timeline where you're able to go back in time to this moment after we spoke to you and give yourself better advice on how to both get out of that situation and then how to navigate your healing process after it, then you wouldn't have to have it. But you shouldn't blame yourself for how you chose to behave in the situation. You can only say, here's what I did poorly, here's how I'm going to improve. Because if you allow it to torment you, you will never be able to live it down and get away from it. This is extremely important if you're in a position like mine, because ironically enough, multiple situations within the last 5, 7, 8, 10, 9, I don't even remember how long it's been, but X amount of days since that event happened to me, these issues and these topics and these ideas come up. So, if I were to put myself in a position where I constantly overanalyze every decision I make based on how I believe people are going to perceive me and my words, then I would be stuck at a point of choice paralysis. And you need to understand that the ultimate sin here that they seek to do to you isn't just inflicting damage on you in the moment. They want to live in your head permanently. And you cannot let them. Because one part of it, one half, is your imposter syndrome. For some people, it's a superiority or inferiority complex. For other people, it's just extreme anxiety to the point of agoraphobia, to where they are resistant to experiencing new people and new events without having a person for comfort. But in your case, it would have been choice paralysis and emotional insensitivity to the point of becoming extremely codependent. They wanted you to believe that you had to do everything that they said, that if you didn't do what they were demanding of you, they would cut you out and cut you off, and that they would just abandon you and treat you like you were a member of a cult that was being disposed. Which is actually ironic that you brought that up, because that's what that is. It's the behavior of a cult, you see. You cannot let them do that, because if you allow them to control you by those means and regards, then the problem will never be fixed. They will never be solved. It will never be understood. And they won't learn what they did to you. They won't prevent that from happening again, should they have the viewpoint to make sure that they never do that to another human being. And at least in your position, because the only outcome that matters here is you, not them.
Yep.
If you do for your own self to know, even though that happened to me, I'm not at fault, and I won't let them poison me on new experiences with other people. If you don't do that shadow work, you'll feel that you were at fault even though you were literally an innocent victim. Because that's not even saying that on the thing that I was involved in that I was an innocent person. But you see, in my situation, a series of situations and information being withheld from me dictated my decisions and actions. Now, you were deprived of information the same way that I was. So, I say this to you the same way that I said it to myself. Because for me, I've been in a situation before. I got the Mystery Mouse Cthulhu inside my shadow closet. It goes rum-pa-pum-pum, and it loads 50 gauge. But for me, as I would say to you, you should not blame yourself. Because yeah, you probably acted like a bonehead at some times. Maybe in the past, maybe in the situations leading up to it. But that does not excuse or justify anything they did. It doesn't justify what they said. It doesn't justify what they did. It doesn't justify what will happen afterwards as a result of them doing that to you. Where because they went looking for things about you, they found things about you, and now they'll judge you a specific way, and they'll permanently poison your name whenever you're mentioned. The same thing is probably happening or will happen to me again. But I'm a large content creator. I'm on a public platform. My job is to survive these slings and arrows. And I have hot feet. I two-step these bitches. You should two-step these bitches too. Put a little dance in it when you do it. That's the point of what I want to get across here. That's what we should all take away from this. How to survive being struggle sessioned. You do it by keeping your head up high and putting the middle finger in it, and you hold it up in the air the same way you hold your head up high, and you walk your ass out that door, and you let them see your ass before you slam it. That's what you should do.
Fucking crip walk out the door.
Crip walk out the door.
Let them fucking see.
Moonwalk out the door.
Because I can promise you.
Yeah.
Yes, because I can promise you in this situation, especially people like Leo Convoy, the most powerful tool that you can use, this is actual advice that comes from Shadow Work, is that you need to ensure and minimize the control these people have over your life. In Leo Convoy's case, as well as Hopeless Pieces' case, they both demonstrate the behavior of control freaks. And for people that are narcissistic in that design, where they believe themselves to do no wrong, information is what they need in order to do that to you. Because that's how they behave, what you should do is always minimize how much access they have to you. You won't have to communicate it. They'll feel it, and they will be made uncomfortable by it. Now, this does not mean every single time a person tries to seek to talk to you and give you information that means it's what's happening. Because for people like myself, I just like verbalizing my intentions and making sure people understand why. Because you can't read my mind. I have to tell you what I'm thinking. So, you want to communicate to them and be direct. So if you give them an ask, and they give you an ask, both of you can complete the ask, and then communicate thusly. So instead of what would normally happen, what they did to you is they told you, you need to do what we said, and gave you no ability to speak. That's not fair. What you would do from then is that if they were to come to you the way that they came to you then, you would then tell them, I don't feel comfortable talking to you because when it mattered most, you did not let me use my voice so that I could be understood. Because the greatest evil here, which I think is the greatest sin of Leo Convoy as a content creator and as a lolcow, is it takes a certain level of evil to steal people's human desire for communication, connection, and understanding away from them, and then consider yourself to be anything close to holistic or nice. Nice people don't set themselves towards the goal of animosity to the point of preventing people from being heard. It's just not possible. It's not capable. There's no good intention that comes from preventing communication. So, just want to make sure that was fully understood. Welcome back, Baku.
Oh my goodness.
Baku had to step away for a second. But, I think we've talked it to death. Unless there's anything else that nobody has brought to my attention, we can, I believe we can move on to the next topic.
Thank you, by the way.
Oh, by all
Absolutely.
means. It is our pleasure and it is your privilege. Thank you for sharing with us. You didn't have to tell us, but it's so great that you did.
You're very welcome. By Shriek, I can't lie about everything. By Shriek said sharing is caring.
Sharing is indeed caring. Just don't share hepatitis V and keep the babies to yourself.
Lol.
It's always fun to share candy. It's never fun to share responsibility. The more you know. Doing, 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 doing.
Come on, listen to what about all those crimes I committed that you must share the capability for?
Nah.
Nah.
But anyways, just looking for Baku.
Oh,
He has disappeared into the shadow realm.
He has indeed.
we've lost him.
Money
The
match.
pot of greed has taken him.
Money matching somebody right now. The match is dead set. He's down to his last 10 cards of the deck.
Down to his last 1,000 life points.
He has to make sure that he summons Raw before it's too late.
He has to draw the last Exodia card.
He's in it to win it.
God damn.
In any case, until he's back, I can actually take questions from the audience. Should anybody have any?
I haven't seen any. I know that everybody is being very supportive of Ammo, and they
Yeah.
are very sad to hear that this kind of thing had happened to her. Which we are also pretty not happy about hearing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you guys immensely. This is enough to push a person to tears. I mean, it did.
Oh, I know very well. I've felt the wrath of bad choices and being around bad people myself on the internet. I completely feel you.
Mm-hmm. Try to roll back to see if I can go find.
Kingo says you're their goat.
That's my little brother.
Aww.
He was there.
That's so cute.
I couldn't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
If I might say one thing, along with the thank you for saying it's cute, right? He was actually there in the call with me, trying his best to defend me, but like I couldn't see what he was saying, and we couldn't communicate in DMs because we were both so stressed. I'll be honest, I can't thank the world enough for a brother like him sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he went in there, fought the masses just for little old me when he could have ditched me, and people have in the past. So it's like, you know, you can never wake up lucky enough.
That's so cute. I want to gag myself with a spork.
Don't.
It's a joke, honey.
Oh.
Yes. It is a very old joke from a very old bat. I'm an old biddy in this group. I may be the oldest here.
I think I might be the youngest. I'm 21.
33 this year.
Holy crit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot all
Very
about
early
this.
birthday, yeah. It's October-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Happy spooky birthday.
Indeed. I am a spooky content creator, so it is very fitting, actually.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate
How
you.
old are you?
Myself? I am currently 20. I mentioned that. I'm currently 29. I'm going to be 30 later on this year.
Dirty 30. Although Carl was already dirty to begin with.
Yeah. I'm a dirty boy.
You nasty. You nasty, fam.
Either.
It looks like that is all we've got for the docket.
I think.
Unless we have any final thoughts and opinions on the evil furry, his rotted pitted peach, and
The third one.
all of the other degenerates in the Judge Dredd cosplay crew. And I bet you they smell like Anime Expo cosplayers too.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody understands what that means. It is the premier event for anime goers and anime lovers in California. And they are so synonymous with BO and not washing themselves that there is a rule that if you stink, you need to leave, shower, put on some fucking deodorant, and then you can come back.
It is a nightmare.
If I ever need to clean out my sinuses, I'll go there.
I would not suggest it.
I wouldn't suggest it. We've actually had a person that had a situation case where somehow their smell and their sense of taste was so impacted that they decided to randomly do a saline rinse as in their bathroom before they put on their cosplay to go to the cosplay contest. And they had to walk past the game room to get to the stage for said contest. They smelled what they weren't smelling before because they had an impacted nostril, fainted, fell down, broke a piece of the cosplay, and we had to get medical to treat them because we had no idea what it caused it. But she was so noseblind to the smell of her own friends that came in with her, where they were competitors for the gaming tournaments, and she just came to do the cosplay and had a fairly decent cosplay. It wasn't a very big break, but the equivalent of like $50 for about $1,200 cosplay.
Yikes.
All because a group of motherfuckers didn't wash their ass.
Because people do not know how to bathe.
It makes me think to myself, right? Are they using this for like competitive edge? Because I feel like if
No.
I walked into a room and I smelled like the most disgusting rank smell, I'd forfeit immediately. I go,
Well,
wow, that smells awful. I'm not staying here.
well, no. Sometimes yes, but mostly no. I know this for a fact because I'm the kind of person that would be in that group of people. But the difference is I'm French, which means I like perfume and cologne, which means I like smelling, which means I don't like smelling myself. But what causes gamer rank? It actually has a name. People like to call it gamer musk. It's not a musk. Musk is a nice tapery smell that you want, like scratching a knife against wood so you can smell the pine. That's not what it's called. It's gamer rank. Rank ass BO, basically for short. What causes gamer rank is a person spends so much time getting worked up, getting heated from either playing the game or being in a very, very, very hot environment that over time the natural BO of their body starts compiling based on either how impacted their sweat glands are, how quote musty and dirty the clothes they're wearing are, which it's not usually the clothes, it's usually the person. Sometimes it can also be the clothes because you see gamers, they don't have a lot of money, so they don't spend a lot of money on outfits. And so when they don't spend a lot of money on outfits, they recycle the same outfits. And since these are people playing video games, they just play with whatever. A lot of the clothes in my inventory, a lot of the clothes in my gamer inventory, I separate my clothes between clothes that I intend on wearing all the time and clothes that I only wear on camera for the purpose of like content. No matter what you're wearing, the smell can get stuck on you, but most of the time, especially considering that the ones that are called gamer BO rank ass are male, they're very rarely females. But usually the females are the Fujoshis, and you don't smell the Fujoshis. You see them before you smell them. For the gamers, you smell them before you see them.
It's like, oh, I'd walked into a gaming tournament with my eldest sister, Nova. Oh, it was a local one in the dead of summer in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So, I opened the door. I guess she didn't notice it, but I didn't want to say anything because I think my face had scrunched into a hole. And I just pretended it didn't smell terrible. We went on the wrong day, by the way, for the tournament. But oh god, it smelled bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was in a basement, a hot basement.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk down and you just get hit with this scent.
It's basically how the smell percolates. Actually, a lot of them, gamers that don't have well put together man caves, usually the kind of people that basically they don't own their own home, so they had to make a space for their gaming. And when they're in that place, they close that door, they assume the gamer position, they lock into the gamer position, and they set a grind session. For FGC players especially, they have that mentality because unfortunately, the majority of the FGC is kept up by the black diaspora. This is just a fact. We cannot evade it. We will not beat these allegations. My fellow niggas, we're cooked on this. The majority...
something was diasporating in that room.
The majority of the fighting game community, as well as the majority of most modern game players, are of a minority background and of the most... Let's use the word passionate. Of the most passionate ones, they are black. And usually they happen to be nappy. And sometimes they're lanky, which means they stanky. They assume the gamer position. They lock themselves into a room with little to no fans, because even if you had a box fan, it would solve this problem. They sweat throughout all of their scalp and their hair. They wear the same clothes day in and day out, especially if they don't have to be anywhere. Because I ain't going outside. Why the fuck would I need to change my clothes? Who am I changing them for? Myself? It's not Paris Fashion Week in my bedroom. I want to be comfortable. Wear the same clothes, they assume the gamer position, and they lock in for 10 to 16 hour game sessions. They get up, they do the same thing again, day in and day out, to the point that they become nose blind to their own body odor. And unless they have a girlfriend, or a wife, or a husband that's willing to tell them, "Nigga, you stink!" they will not wash their ass, because they can't smell it. I talked about this at length, actually, on the stream, where Something that I often got for Christmas and for sometimes actually birthday even were Axe body washing kits. Sometimes with and without that little scrub tool that they invented for it. But I would get those frequently. And I love those because they are probably the best solution to ensure that a person can get a sink shower at a gaming event. How did I say it when I was on air that day? Don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry. I'm help you wash your ass. I want you at your maximum potential and your ultimate freshness. Cause like,
Don't forget to brush your teeth too.
yes. And scrape your tongue. Don't forget to scrape your tongue, guys. The greatest problem is that's what causes the gamer rank. The gamer rank is caused by not washing their hair, not washing their body, wearing disgusting, dirty clothes in a sequence. Definitely not wearing socks. The J's, the smell sometimes can be coming from the shoes, but they don't take care of their hygiene, and we don't have enough people who are aggressively positive enough to be the mummies and daddies of the FTC to tell them you smell like a dumpster. Let's go wash you up in the bathroom. Because you ain't gotta take them all. Like, you ain't gotta take them all the way home. Just get a washcloth and a sink. We can give you a sink shower. We'll wash you clean. It'll be easy.
Installing showers in every arcade ever, all of them. Y'all smell.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to really make a lot of money, in my opinion, you should fuse the idea of a proper like workout gym with a online cafe. One section cafe, one section gym. Then you have the ability to sell access to the showers, to get memberships. Not only so that if they are, they come off the workout of the set, they do their workout, then they go and they use the internet cafe.
You might as well sell them a hotel already. Come live here. Come live here. I know you wanna.
I mean, it'd be very, very effective. But I think that is actually everything we have to say, unless Baku has more topics for us to talk about.
Don't look like it. We've got through everything. I think it's time to wrap it up and get the fuck out.
Yes, sir.
True.
I have. Oops, I was just gonna say I have a doodle. That's
okay.
it.
I see. Oh, I do see it. Is this the same doodle you've been working on the entire time?
No.
Oh.
I'll show you. Okay. The other one.
Okay. Well,
so
that is.
I know I've been sharing it, but do you want to tell everybody where we can find you?
Oh yes, I was about to do that. But yeah, so do you want to tell everybody where they can be able to find Amaretta and all Amaretta available materials?
The local hardware store, and also at Night Fun Art on Twitter.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Twitter or x.com/nightfawnart. That is where you can find Amaretta and all Amaretta related products. And of course, if you want to be able to support the show here, please consider becoming a donator by either sending in super chats, sending in donations and pledges to both Ko-fi, Subscribestar, etc. Blase, blase, blase. Got a whole support page here about it. Consider sending those to those places, blase, blase, blase. As well as supporting on Twitch and YouTube. $20 pledges get the ability to have higher limit access to the inside of the Discord server, as well as many other associated goodies. And above all else, if you just support what we do here, and you would like to hear and see more about that, consider becoming a member of the server. You ain't gotta pay no money. All you gotta do is be able to hang out and be here and become a member of the audience. And you, too, could actually have the ability to influence the content that you see on the Fried Chicanery podcast. As for everything else, my name is Carl. This is my mod horror, and he is Waku. Is there any other things that we'd like to say? Comments, questions, concerns before we leave, ladies and gentlemen?
So I have a channel on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube at horror_hellfire and on Twitter at horror_hellfire for all of your horror-related shenaniganery.
And I have no idea where Baku can be found in many places, to be honest. But if you want to hit him up and talk to him about things like Yu-Gi-Oh! And whatnot, and a bunch of things to do with like internet, niche micro celebrity content and topics, he is definitely your man. And of course, you already know where all Carl and Carl related accessories can be sold. I will see you all another time. Same bat time, same Carl channel. Bye, everybody.
Good night.